My name is John William Arnold Sr., and I was about to do this veterans interview with Mr. Joe Douglas Worley. Mr. Worley lives at 804 Hillside Drive, Burleson, Texas. He's Mr. Worley, when and where were you born?
I was born in 1931, November the 13th, in Whitney, Texas.
That's good. And when did you enter the service?
I had split periods in the service. I went in February 1952 into the U.S. Air Force.
Did you volunteer?
Yes.
Okay.
And I served for 4 years in the Air Force during the Korean War. My brothers had served in World War II, both of them. And I was too young for World War II, but I was just the right age when the Korean War broke out. So I figured that was my war, and I hastened down. Several of us from our hometown went down and enlisted together.
I might add that this interview is sponsored by the Burleson Heritage Foundation, of which I'm a member. All right, then after that service, you went back later?
Yes, sir. I got out of the Air Force and went to college and to seminary. In the Air Force, I was a radio operator, and I served for tour of duty in Korea as a radio operator. Then in 1956, I was discharged from the Air Force. I enrolled in Texas Wesleyan University and got my bachelor's degree, and I went on to seminary at Perkins School of Theology in Dallas and was ordained a Methodist minister. Then in 1962, I went into the U.S. Army as a chaplain.
Good. All right, now, I might ask you this. Did you pick the Army? You decided to do that yourself?
Yes.
That was your decision?
Yes. And basically, the Army was building up at the start of the Vietnam War, and they needed chaplains desperately, so I enlisted or volunteered for the U.S. Army.
Okay. Does a chaplain go to boot camp or
Yes,
anything?
sir.
All
Yes.
right.
I've been to basic training or boot camp twice.
All right.
Once in the Air Force and once in the Army.
And where did you do this?
I did basic training for the Air Force at at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. And I did basic training for the chaplaincy at Fort Hamilton, New York.
Well, was it tough?
Oh, yes.
Did you get through it? You got through it all right.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it. I had volunteered, so I made the best of it.
And you served in the two wars?
Yes, sir, both in Korea and in Vietnam.
And your job was chaplain?
Yes, during the Vietnamese War, I served as a chaplain.
Did you see combat?
Yes, sir, I was in
All right.
3 different combat units. I was in a combat unit in Korea, and I was in a combat unit in Vietnam, 2 combat units.
What do you remember about say, Korea?
Well, I think most soldiers remember the weather probably more than anything, because in combat units you're outside, and in Korea it was awfully cold, and in Vietnam it was awfully hot.
That's what I've heard that, yeah.
So mostly the weather, but the camaraderie of your fellow soldiers and airmen is just fantastic.
All right, were you awarded any medals or?
Yes, sir, I received the Bronze Star and the Joint Service Commendation Medal. I received it in the Air Force, and then I received it in the Army. And because I'd received it in 2 different branches of the U.S. military, they issued me a Joint Service Commendation ribbon. Then, back in the United States, I served with a unit where I was awarded the Meritorious Service Medal.
Yeah.